Have you got a child with a concentration problem and you might have seen a doctor and they've spoken about Ritalin and you kind of, whoa, you haven't been very happy about that, but your child might be treated on Ritalin and might be having some symptoms that you're worried about, or you might be a teacher and you see a child that's been treated for ADHD and is on Ritalin. And you might see that they get quite anxious, they get a bit nervous, they get a bit jittery, they get like really hyped up, almost like a bit OCD when they go onto their medication. And you might be thinking, is this the medicine making my child more anxious? They tend to just worry about everything. Things that they weren't worried about, they're just more emotional. They're thinking about things, asking about what's going to happen. They're worried about every moment. They're just becoming so anxious. Now, what happens with conditions like ADHD? Because Ritalin is only registered for children with ADHD. It's meant to help somebody with their concentration, impulsivity, and hyperactivity. But with ADHD, there are children who also have anxiety, who have OCD, who have other mental problems. 50% of children with ADHD will also have other problems like anxiety, depression. They could have OCD, they could have ODD, which is oppositional defiant disorder. And that also goes together with learning problems. So if a child's on Ritalin, there's so many reasons why they could be anxious. It could be the medicine itself, and it's true. If you're using a medication that's too high in dose, and remember there's a dose for every child. It doesn't matter how big they are. So if they put on too high a dose, what it can do is it can have a bad reaction and release too much dopamine in the front of the brain, make them come a little bit like over focused, worried about things. And if you've got underlying anxiety, it could actually make your anxiety a lot worse, because what it can do is it makes you like focus on your worries more, focus on your anxieties more. And I also find that children with ADHD, because they've got such bad self-esteem, they have people that are constantly giving them negative criticism, they don't seem to do anything right, so they've got really bad self-esteem to begin with. And then, of course, with their medication, it really can have a bad impact. And everyone's different on medication. Just think about any medication you might take. Even if you're taking Miprodol, some people have a bad reaction. Some children, when they take Panado, they get all hyped up. Some children get really drowsy. So each medication has a different impact on you. We're all different inside. I know we look the same from the outside, but our metabolisms inside are different in the way we process medicine. So sometimes children need a little whiff of the medicine, almost like half a tablet of Ritalin, and that might be enough for them for the whole day. But the same child, that half a tablet can make them very anxious, very worried, overly emotional. And then, of course, they don't eat properly and they don't sleep properly, and that's going to just aggravate and make the anxiety 100 times worse. So using long-acting medicines of Ritalin when they're starting on too high a dose. Unfortunately, I see this in children that have been treated by doctors that don't deal with the medicine every day. And they start on too high a dose. They start on long-acting medicines when children maybe should be started on smaller acting medicines, particularly if they're young. So yes, the medicine can make you anxious, but it's often the dose is wrong or they've got an underlying problem.